Hi everyone, my name is Jane and I am a designer. We do interior design that is both residential and commercial, and we've done it for 30 years. So I'm very happy to share with you some of the tips and ideas that we've learned over time from our clients and from all the projects that we've done. So today we are going to talk about dreaded, yes, honey oak, golden oak flooring, and how much people write to us about how much they hate it. And you shouldn't hate it, but I understand. It does seem a little, of the 90s, and it's hard to control when you're trying to put your room together in a different direction because the floor is so darn bossy. So let's talk about what we can do. First of all, honey oak or golden oak, honey pine is another version. It's sort of in the same color, different wood species. Looks like this, the sample that I have here. Some of them have gotten even more orangey over time, which is the sample I have down here, and any variation on the theme. So this color was really strong coming out of the late 80s and into the 90s and into the early 2000s, where people were finally like, oh my God, we've had enough of this. How do we make it stop? Within this group, there's also golden maple, which sneaks itself in as well, which was a lot of kitchen cabinets. And you may even have this color on vanities and other parts of the house in your millwork or your cabinetry. So let's talk about what we can do about it. First of all, if it's a hardwood floor, it probably means it's through certainly your main rooms of the house. And the question is, what can you put with it? If it's your cabinetry, we can definitely take away from the strength of the color. But let's talk hardwood because we're mostly focusing on hardwood right now and what we can do. Okay, so what makes this so difficult is that it is a very strong color, and it really dictates the color and the design for the rest of the room. Whether you have it on the ceiling or you have it on the floor, the best way to handle that today is to neutralize it. So how do you do that? Well, you neutralize this by not putting certain paint colors with it. So when we had this originally, when we put it on, we often had walls that were deeper in color. Like we would do something like this. We might do a terracotta with it. We wouldn't do that today, would we? Because it's just way too much color. Most of us can't handle, at least I can't handle my walls talking to me. I need my house to be perfectly quiet when I go home. And when you have this much energy coming from your floor, it's hard to turn it down. So we want our walls to really create more separation from us to our floor. And the best way to do that is not with color, but with contrast. So what do I mean when I say that? So color is what we all see and talk about, but it's contrast we intuitively understand. Whether we know it or not, it's one of the feats of human nature that we've had longer than the ability to see color. So we're talking like millions and millions and millions of years here. So contrast is the highest level anyway, is black against white. That is contrast. And your eye will always see contrast before it interprets color. Both important, but contrast is what we're going to focus on when we're trying to tone down a color like this. So how are we going to do this? We're going to do this by making sure that our walls have more contrast to the floor because we want to overtake the color. Remember, contrast comes first, then comes color. So what we do is we are going to add wall color to this that has more impact. So in this case, that might be a white. Believe it or not, Simply White, this is from Benjamin Moore, actually has more contrast to our wall. So if I put this on my wall and say my trim and baseboard, and maybe I put it on my ceiling, it helps to tone this floor down. Even if you want to tint your white a little bit more, let me show you this color. This one's called Steam, which has actually got more color to it. I'll show you the comparison between the two of them. I don't know how easy that is for you to see, but Steam is actually darker as far as a white goes. We can also use that with our golden oak floor because it helps to blend it in. I don't see it as much, but I still have contrast. What I do not want to do on my walls in any way is add something like this color. This is called November Rain. Great color, but not great for this floor because this floor is orange and this color here is green. So when you take two colors that are opposite, so orange being orange yellow and green being green blue, we end up getting kind of a murky color on the wall. It makes my wall paint look sort of dirty, as though I haven't really cleaned the walls. So that's a definite no. We do not want that. And this is another color. Great color, terrible with this floor. If you have at home this color flooring and you paint your walls a light, very light beige, That's a mistake. You do not want to do that. Again, it looks like you never washed the walls. So this color is called Wind's Breath. Great color, terrible for these floors. Do not do that. The other thing you do not want to do is use any light, pale, not really fully committed grays. Not a good look. Again, great color called Cliffside Gray. Terrible color with this floor. It just looks like it's so wrong because it's not in the same warm direction. So again, this is blue, your floor is orange. They are opposite each other on the color wheel, which means they kind of clash. They fight each other. So the blue of this paint chip makes the floor oranger, and the orange of the floor makes the blue bluer. Terrible option. And this color here, this is called Perspective. It's got almost a purple undertone, and that orange yellow in the floor makes this look like I have mauve or mauve walls. Unless that's what you want, do not do it. You are far better to do colors that have a lot more depth to them if you want to have an impact on your walls. So something like this, you can't be wishy-washy when you're picking your paint color with such a strong bossy floor. Just like you with anyone who's bossy with you, you got to put them in your place. And this is what we're doing here. We're doing it with a stronger taupe color so that we actually push that orange back down. And this is a warm taupe. So it kind of blends or gives a little bit more softness to our floor. And of course, if we want to sharpen this up a little, it's called Plymouth. We can take it, and if that's our trim or our casing, it adds a really nice detail line, key line around things that sharpens things up even further. And so I would suggest, again, if you have a really strong floor like this, make sure that your white is good and strong compared to your wall color. So your walls could be, say, like we were saying before, our color Steam, and then make sure that your trim work is in something like Simply White or Oxford White, so it's even stronger, so that you get a nice crispy line that outlines everything, because that's going to give us more contrast. Another good color that would be a nice wall color with this one is called Greenwich Gate, which does have a little bit of a yellow undertone to it, but it's kind of nice because it gives us not quite a khaki, but a nice darker beige color on the wall as opposed to pale beige. Again, mentioned before, no pale beige, terrible. This color is very good with charcoal though. Medium charcoals, excellent. Anything in between, or again, bright whites, anything that provides contrast. The way to accessorize to make this disappear, make sure you add black and white. So, or if you prefer, oil rub bronze. So in any of your accessories, in your headboards, in your furniture, do dark wood with this. Do chairs that are painted black. Add, say, dishware that's in black on the table. That will really help this go away. And of course, if you're buying any new lighting fixtures, this is the time to invest in black, or again, that oil rub bronze, so that it pushes this color away and gives something to sort of balance it. That's what you're missing when you have this kind of color in your room. Now you can keep this and keep your wood, your baseboard wood trim and doors if you want, but one option would be to paint that all out to make it disappear, or like blend it into your wall. Or if you keep it, paint the doors a different color. Maybe you paint them black so that you have a little bit more contrast between the trim, the floor, and then the door itself. Now, I will say we have used versions of this color before. Some of you may have pine, or you may live in homes or cottages or second properties, cabins, where they use pine that's very similar to this color. And we have a lot of northern properties here where I live, and a lot of those northern properties have pine on the ceiling, or they have baseboards. Again, the best way to make that work and look good or cohesive is to do your walls in a crispy white, and then accent with really dark shades of black, gray, or chocolate brown, oil rub bronze, any of those colors, because they help to separate that wood away from other wood, so it gives it a better, more expensive look. It actually looks very fresh and modern. It does not look dated in any way. So speaking of dated, what you don't want to do is add other colors to the room that has this flooring that are also strong colors. Okay, not the neutrals like black, gray, charcoal, but color. As much as I love green, The problem with green or orange, terracotta or burgundy or whatever the color it is, navy blue, is because you now have two colors really competing against each other. Because of that, they do tend to become sort of fighters. And we don't want that. We want lovers, not fighters. And that's what happens. Now, if you want green, go with a more toned green. So tone technically means gray. So agree with more gray in it, a little softer in the intensity of color, and that will look better with your floor. Now, some of you have asked before, how do we transition from different flooring material when I have this color of flooring? What do I do? What tile do I put up against it? In the 80s and 90s, what we would do, particularly in the 90s and the early 2000s, is we would find flooring that was really similar to this. So you might find a terracotta look that then had a little bit of brown in it, a little bit of maybe orange, gray mixed into it, and that's what we put against it. The idea being that all blended. So you can still do that today, but most people tend to want different colors for their tiles. So you can put, again, we're going to play with that idea of impact using our idea of contrast. You can put white with this. Now this white, I'm not sure how easy it shows up on here, but the white here actually has a very warm sandy line of color through it, very softly mixed through it, and that gives it just a warm undertone. Again, your tile, you do not want gray in that tile, really light, because it will always look dirty and uncohesive. So a warm undertone white is what you're looking for. This looks really good. Or you could, here's your option. This is a time where you might want to use a dark tile. Slate colored, any kind of black and white would look really good with this floor. Anything this is like a deep gray, medium gray would be good, black would be good, black marble look. Any of these are going to look good with our floor color here because it's going to give the floor a bit of a lift, give it a little bit of a bounce. So your floor will stand out, and this floor will stand out, and this floor, it may stand out more, but in a kind of a good way, meaning at the transition, you'll get a little bit of life, and that life will then tone into the rest of the floor. Last but not least, if you do have honey oak floors and you have white cabinets and you're kind of not sure what to do, you can paint your walls and leave your cabinets white. Now, you might just tint your walls just an ever little bit deeper than the color of your cabinet. So if I go back to my lighter colors here, I could have cabinets that are like my Simply White. Let me show you this here, which is quite a bit whiter than, say, my background color, which is Dove White right there. So it's just got a little bit of tint to it, which gives it a really nice little bit of lift. Then you could do a darker countertop. So you could do a dark countertop in charcoal gray, deep brown, maybe even sort of a taupey color that's quite dark. Any of those would look nice. And of course you could do a white countertop as well. And then again, accent with your darker colors in your hardware. The one thing I wouldn't do hardware wise when working with this kind of color is gold. Gold, you already have enough gold. Remember, your whole floor is golden oak. So we don't need any more gold. You're really golded out at this point. And I'll remind you, if this is in the family room or the living room, someplace that's a big floor area, do not panic and feel as though you have to rip it all out because you don't like it, because it's not current or whatever the reason is. Honestly, buy an area carpet and carry on over top of it. If you do a light colored area carpet over top of this, you can make that floor not nearly as strong, and it's just an accent at that point. It doesn't have to be the whole story. So do not worry, there's a lot you can do, and frankly, I really like golden oak. It's very workable if you know what to do. And I'm hoping that these tips that we've shared today are enough to give you something that you can go ahead and make that golden oak flooring look amazing.